Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
Good evening, my friends. How are you? It is the look back with, well, was going to be Sam and Maddie, but Sam had some travel plans get in the way tonight. So Chris and I have jumped in last minute to help you out. Maddie, are you happy that you didn't have to go solo tonight?
I'm so happy. I don't know. I would have had to pull something out of my hat to be entertaining enough.
I like it. And Chris, thank you for pulling yourself away from a little bit of League of Legends Worlds research to come be with us for a short period.
Yeah, I did that whole solo video earlier, and I didn't pull anything out of my hat. It was tough.
I can't do solo. I just don't do it if I have to be solo. I got to be clear. Well, welcome to drroto.com, your daily prescription of fantasy sports. This show is going to be live after Monday Night Football every week with Maddie and Sam. So make sure you're turning in roughly at 11:30 Eastern, the proper time.
Okay.
To be thinking about is Eastern all the time, not Central, not Western, Sam, if you're watching this later, but Eastern. That's the only one people care about. Just saying. She's like silent.
Speak for yourself.
Moving on.
Not
all
giving
right.
that any attention.
Well, DFS was okay for me season long, thanks to Eckler today. I did pretty well. How about you this week, Maddie? How was your teams?
I tweeted this out. I have a couple of regrets. I picked up the Titans defense in like 4 of my leagues. So, yeah.
That's okay. I did that with the Lions. That didn't work out for me either.
Not so great. I also sat DJ Moore on accident.
Oops. Yeah. Well, I had Patterson on 2 benches, but he probably should have been on 2 benches. Whether he stays there from now on, we'll get into that later. How about you, Chris? Did you have a good seasonal week? I know DFS was me.
I mean, DFS was super close, man. It's one of those things that you look back, and I don't like to say, oh, what if, but like, what if I played Deebo Samuel over DK Metcalf and won 200,000? And what if I had put my best lineup in one of the high stakes ones and won 40,000? What if I did both of those things? But seasonal was good. I think the only league that I lost in was inexplicably a league that I have Terry McLaurin, Darren Waller, Ryan Tannehill, all playing on the same team. But I won the other 4 though.
I got a little B43. Have you ever had B43, Chris?
No, I haven't.
It's the old
nice little pale ale.
Yeah, it's the brute version of their New England M43. So it's quite good.
This is a sneaky plug you got going on here.
No, I actually work for a different brewery, which is this one. Yeah, but just throwing it out there. All right, my friends, let's get right into it. Let's go back and take a look at that Thursday game. We had a Jacksonville team come so close to getting their first win on the year, but Cincinnati pulled it off 24-21. Obviously, the Chark injury is big for some seasonal people. If you listen to Chris Emmerich, you wouldn't have him on any of your team. And CJ Uzomah dominates. What did you think of this game, Maddie?
I honestly wasn't sure who was going to pull it out. I was kind of hoping Jacksonville would get something. But to be honest with you, I have Mixon, and that's about it, who is playing. So
Mixon is banged up. I haven't looked at the injury report yet. Is he going to miss a little time, and are we interested in Evans?
I'm interested in Evans. I'm not going to pick him up unless I have to.
Chris?
See what else is on the board.
No, I mean, from a fantasy impact, these teams kind of are who we think they're going to be. I think the one thing that is nice, whether it's seasonal, because I do have him on a few teams, but also fantasy-wise, it looks like Urban Meyer has come around to this James Robinson. I think we were all, not me, but a lot of people were a little bit too like, oh my God, he's using Carlos Hyde. He loves him because they went to Ohio. Stop it. Like okay, he ran a little bit. They were way behind in positive game scripts, which they may not have a lot. James Robinson's going to do a lot of good things, and he's going to be viable. I think the Carlos Hyde thing is done. There's a reason these guys get passed around from team to team. Guys like Duke Johnson, guys like Carlos Hyde, and like the entire quartet of running backs on the Ravens at this point is because they're not very good. And, given a long enough period of time, I think even the most inept college coaches trying to make a professional career can see that too.
Well, I think that he wants to get some media off of his own personal issues from this weekend. So maybe he'll actually, coach some good football going forward. Maybe.
I mean, it's not a good team, so
yeah. Who knows? I would just like to see James Robinson repeat last year, but
the Jags' offensive line did look a little better. They've made some improvement.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit too, though. Like Cincinnati is a very fraudulent 3-1 team. I don't think they're bad. They're much better than they were last year, and they do have some promising pieces, especially from just a fantasy standpoint. But this is not a 3-1 team. They've just
it's not terrible, but this is probably one of their best defensive games that they've had. Also, on the front. So far, that's not saying much.
not when it's Jacksonville on the other side, right?
I'm trying to find some good in this situation.
Well, let's just move on then. Let's take a look at the next game here. We've got the New York Giants coming in to New Orleans and sneaking out the win, 27-21. Man, Daniel Jones looked good. The Saints totally seem lost to me. It seems every week they're trying to do something different. I don't know what they're trying to do. It's not working. I thought their defense was like the key point of that team, and then their defense got shredded. Chris, what did you take away from this game?
It's just the same old thing. It's like you want to play Alvin Kamara because he has 2 touchdown upside, but it's actually Taysom Hill that has 2 touchdown upside, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's incredibly frustrating. Was it Drew Brees? Look, Sean Payton is one of the fakest sharps out there. Like, why? Why do you keep running Taysom Hill? Okay, he gets in, but so could Alvin Kamara. But like, why do you do it? Like, how can teams not stop it? Is the other thing. Is like,
that's
you know what is going to happen. Like, I think that they just think that they're going to trick him and they're going to throw it or something. But like, this guy's going to touch the ball 3 times a game, and he's not going to pass it at this point, because those are the only 3 opportunities he's going to get to touch the ball. So it is frustrating, because Alvin Kamara has been a great play the last 2 weeks at his ownership. The opportunities have been there, especially last week when he got the early touchdown. To not be able to get a second one to kind of just cap it off is frustrating.
He's breaking tackles, though, so he's making moves after he gets the ball, which is – I didn't think he had that in him this year to be consistent with.
I mean, if he could score a touchdown, I mean, just at his price in DFS, it's kind of what you need. He's getting 150, 200 yards total, like, combined, so you just need the touchdown to go with it. And it's going to be there. It's just, you're just going to have to deal with these type of down weeks where other guys are getting it. The only advantage, I guess, to him is that outside of Taysom Hill, there's nobody else that's taking those touchdowns from him.
There.
Yeah, it's not Callaway.
He had like Harris. Over 30 last game or this week.
Yeah, I mean, they're using them. They're just, it's like you lose Mark Ingram, you lose Latavius Murray. You think like you don't have that situation anymore with that big bruiser. You do. It's your backup quarterback. So
fair enough. Let's keep moving along. All right, Kansas City Chiefs 42 over Philadelphia 30. Threek Hill is my new name for him. He went off. Man, the wide receiver most likely to get 3 touchdowns any given week is Hill, man. The guy is just absolutely crazy. And I think, Chris, you were talking in one of our chats before, like, I don't know why they're just not using Sanders. Is it just game script every week? It just seems like they never utilize him.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This Kansas City team, they've been on the main slate, I think, only 2 times, but I think both times they were pretty close to optimal. So you just have to find the right way to stack, because this defense can't do anything. It's super frustrating that Miles Sanders couldn't get involved, that they don't want to run the ball with him. He looks fine when he's touching the ball, but it's good for Gainwell shares. I don't know. It's frustrating.
Especially this week, because this is the week they should have ran the ball.
Yeah, and they just
straight through.
They just didn't. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's not like Sanders looks bad. It's not like it's a Mike Davis situation, which we'll get to. Sanders actually looks good when he touches the ball, but he only touches the ball like 3 or 4 times. And granted, Gainwell looks good too, but they don't get him involved until they're way far behind. And this is not a team. This is a team that can put up points, but they're not like a team that can put up points like Kansas City. So they're not going to win in a shootout no matter how bad this Kansas City defense is. And just this Eagles offensive line is banged up. It's just not a good year for them again.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
And Lane Johnson was out, which is that's a big key player.
Oh, absolutely. It just seems confusing to me when the obvious game script is to keep the ball away from Kansas City, and they have a competent running team. They have a running quarterback. They have 2 good running backs on that squad, and they just didn't do it. It's just confusing. It's just confusing. So anyways, moving on. Houston, big old zero burger. Oof. When you look at that Buffalo 40 points, though, and you go look at the game box score and you look at the people who scored the points, like their kicker scored more points than half the people on a few of my fantasy team. So interesting game. What did you get from this one, Maddie? Buffalo really kind of made a statement, but was that statement Houston is really, really bad?
Houston's not great, but I also have seen vast improvement from the Bills. I think their offensive line is finally meshing. For me, the Bills, it's just kind of like Josh Allen gets his pick of the litter. I mean, they're just stacked. They have a ton of different offensive weapons. Knox was a big surprise for me because I had him last year and regretted it. And this year I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't pick him up, trying to get in there on that. And then Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Knox is this year's Robert Tonyan.
Exactly so you mean he's not going to be relevant for the rest of the year? This was his game,
this
pretty
was
much.
His game.
No, Tonyan had 11 touchdowns last year. He tied Kelsey for the lead in touchdowns from tight ends.
Yeah, but like
did very
7 or 8 of them within like a 4-week span in the first
sure.
6 weeks or something. So that's what I'm getting at.
I agree 100%. So
how do you guys feel about Cooks? I'm
mean,
trying to decide if I want to buy low on him or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get them low, you're just going to have to deal with this type of week is that there are going to be times where they can't just do anything to give him the ball. But when they are able to, it's always going to be through him. He's the only weapon that they have. The problem is just competent, corners or good defensive teams are going to be able to eliminate him. And that's what you saw. I mean, Tre'Davious White, that was a concern. I think one of the teams that I pinpointed as a single stack, like you could stack the Bills, they're going to score a bunch of points. You can do Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You don't need to run it back. But that didn't work out too.
I think I'm going to be able to get him for cheap after this week.
Then
I would go for it. Absolutely.
Depending on who's watching this.
I'm super interested in seeing what becomes of Zach Moss when he has that backfield to himself eventually.
He confuses me. Didn't he have more than Singletary this week? I think I put that in my notes somewhere.
They were equal. They were equal in
shares.
Were they
equal?
It was both 14 carries, 79 yards for Singletary, 61 for Moss, but Moss had the touchdown. And then in the passing game, they both had 1 target. It's just Singletary caught his.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, let's continue on down the road. Carolina 28 to Dallas 36. Basically, Carolina without CMC. I mean, Hubbard is no CMC. That was a given, but even more provable now. It's basically just Sam Darnold and DJ Moore. That's it. That's the entire team. That's the entire offense. They don't seem to remember that Robbie Anderson can catch a ball. Can he though? I mean, right?
It didn't look like it.
He had 11 targets.
That's true. Maybe
he had 11 targets. Brandon Zolstra had 2 and he caught them.
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson had 11 and he caught 5. Like, I understood some of the hype and I even bought into it because, I don't know. I'm a sucker for Robbie Anderson and I buy into his hype like every single season. He is going to have that stretch of games where he's going to absolutely go off. But he's just never been that consistent wide receiver. To be fair, neither is DJ Moore. Not to this extent. But it's just absurd the way that this offense is funneled through him and that Sam Darnold decided to run 2 touchdowns in.
I was shocked. I was like, Sam Darnold can run? He's like RPO king. I was floored. Twice.
Yeah, and I mean, he had a couple of those back in when he was in New York, just games where he would run the ball. He's very I think he's a lot like Daniel Jones in the sense that they have that ability, but they just don't look fast. But in the open field, that they kind of are. But I was really wrong about Sam Darnold. He's played very well this year.
His reads are getting faster though. He's not overthinking as much as he did with the Jets.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. His read is, where's DJ Moore? Is that DJ Moore? That's not DJ Moore. Where is DJ Moore? There's DJ Moore. Let's throw it to him. It's like
I love it.
Now they're even running the ball, but
I didn't think Rodney Smith was going to get as many looks as he did.
Well, when Robbie Anderson's not catching the ball, I mean, geez.
What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the big disappointment for a lot of people was Tommy Tremble. I heard some chatter about him. I never even considered it, nor did I consider Ian Thomas. I guess I thought this game had I knew that there was a possibility that this could be a high-scoring game, but I was kind of hoping that it wasn't going to be, especially with the ownership that was tilted towards Amari Cooper. Most of mine was CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if anybody's seen him since week 1, but I sure haven't, and I've been playing him. The downfall of Ezekiel Elliott was a little bit premature after week 1, it appears.
Yes, he has ramped it up over the last couple weeks. Yeah, for sure. Tony Pollard, though, still scoring points and still probably a flex play every week.
He's hanging in there. I like that nice little running back duo they have there because they're two completely different backs, but they balance each other out really well.
Yeah, and especially
Dallas is looking good. Yeah,
in games like this where they're both getting enough touches, these are the type of games that are going to just be problematic for, I think, CeeDee Lamb, for all of the wide receivers there, especially if they start getting these tight ends involved as much as they have been. I mean, we saw 11 targets out of 22, but it was just one of those games for Dak where he scored really well. I didn't like him because he was chalky, but he was
on his leg, like he used his legs. I know it was weird. I kind of liked it.
Well, it's not even that, too. I mean, yeah, of course. I didn't think that he still had that, and I don't think he wants to go to that. But, 4 touchdowns, 188. This was just like Jameis Winston in week 1, where it felt effortless because he didn't do a lot, but he just blew up fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
Yes. Seemed like he was taking advantage. Like Elliot was getting them down there, and then he was capitalizing on those short, 20-yard and in opportunities.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody was tricked by this Carolina's defensive ratings. I mean, I still think they're a good defensive team, but you just looked at who they played and said, like, you might be for real, but you're not like this good.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I still want to give up on CeeDee Lamb though, because I mean, his best looks are going to be when they're coming from behind, and they weren't in that situation. So, and the Panthers defense have actually been pretty decent at shutting down wideouts.
I guess the other concern I might have with CeeDee Lamb is just the dynamic of this offense without Michael Gallup, who's obviously their best wide receiver. And clearly. So of course, 100%. And so when he's not out there, I just think that all the eyes go to everybody else because, you have to dedicate like 3 or 4 guys to Michael Gallup by himself.
It's true.
And, it opens up stuff for everybody else.
Maddie's not laughing because she doesn't understand that Chris Emmerich is the premier worldwide Michael Gallup truther and has been for several years. And
I did not know that.
And if it was not
in the rookie year when he dropped, when he was a different version of Marquise Brown, it wasn't even he was dropping him; it was just Dak never threw the ball properly to him.
Yeah, he's a once in a generation talent. Truly, he just hasn't been healthy enough to show what he can do. It's true. All right, we got to keep moving, guys. We're going to move on very quickly and then move away very quickly from the Cleveland and Minnesota game. So that was the other game on here in the Detroit market, and my father is a diehard Vikings fan, so I watched this game with him, and I regret the time I spent watching this game with him. I guess the takeaway is Minnesota is capable of not giving up 5 touchdowns and 400 yards.
Yeah, well, and what's frustrating is that for the last 2 weeks, I have heavily bet Nick Chubb touchdown props, and he was almost automatic every time last year, and then and this was a reoccurring theme, not just with Cleveland. Cleveland was probably the worst example of it. Cleveland and Detroit, so the 2 games that you could watch, Danger, but just incredibly bad play calling in the red zone, incredibly bad execution inside the 10. Cleveland, Detroit, Indianapolis. I mean, I'm sure there were 3 or 4 other ones that I can remember, especially in the early slate of windows. It's just what are you guys doing? Why can we not score? We're going on 4th down, and I love the progressiveness of that. But can we score? Why can't Chubb get a touchdown?
Just finish.
I mean, he's 6,500 now, and DK coming up. I think it's Nick Chubb week. It's got to be. There's never been 3 games in a row that he's healthy that he hasn't scored a touchdown that I've looked back far enough to find. So on the other side of things, man, Minnesota didn't score a bunch, but they do get a get-right spot coming up. They're going to be playing Detroit. Justin Jefferson continues to ball out, but we have seen the kind of disappearing act of KJ Osborne, which was, this was to be expected, right?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I do think that the Browns are going to start running the ball more. I don't think they realize they're more of like the Ravens right now. Their defense is great, and they just need to hammer it down and run the ball. Like that's sometimes you don't have to go out and ball out. You just have to survive and not lose. And I think that they're going to start coming to terms with that.
Well, I'm truly sad that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like you have to be careful with Bake throwing at the end. You know what I mean? I feel awkward saying that.
You don't want the game in Baker's hand.
No.
I wish I was in my home office, Maddie, because behind me I have a flag in my home office that says "Feeling Dangerous" and it's Baker's face on a flag. And
I love that, so much. And I love Baker. I'm just saying, he's not the guy you want to.
It's okay. He's only the second best quarterback in the league, anyways, next to Minshew. But that's a story for another day. Moving on here, Indianapolis 27, Miami 17. You look at this and you think you got a lot of great plays out of Indianapolis, but you didn't. I mean, you got Mo Alley Cox with 2 short touchdowns, and basically they just dominated the clock. I mean, they only ran like 47 plays. And then on the other side, why does Miami hate Myles Gaskins? Why?
Well, Myles Gaskins also. He didn't do a whole lot, did he? I didn't get to watch the whole game. 2 carries.
Yeah. He got.
Yeah. Guys, it's a singular. He's just one. No, there's no S. It's Myles Gaskins.
I'm in Michigan. Remember, we add S's to everything.
No. I'm from Michigan.
We go to Walmart.
I don't know what you're talking about. I grew up there. I have no idea.
Scary.
It must be a Howell thing. I don't know. I mean, I think the nice thing about Indianapolis is this defense is pretty decent. Jonathan Taylor's look good. I wish they would just give it to him more. What Marlon Mack out of nowhere gets 10 carries. It's okay. But offensively, everything kind of revolves around like Michael Pittman in the passing game. Again, I think people were a little quick to dismiss him after week 1. But yeah, dude, I have the same question. Like, what Myles Gaskin was arguably your best player last year. He's probably arguably still your best player, and you're not getting him involved. But hey, I've touted Mike Gesicki and Jacoby Brissett, and they kind of got there.
Yeah.
So close.
Better than Justin Fields. Better than Justin Fields again. That's
oh my God. Ooh. I don't remember who it was. It was one of the sports channels I follow on Twitter. One of the like Sports Nation or something said something about, get ready for the emergence of Justin Fields and blah, 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 blah. And I wrote, no, just no. That was my only reply. No.
I actually saw a lot of potential in him. I mean, it's not going to be this year, but I really do. I think that he's got potential.
Oh, he's going to break the mold for Ohio State quarterbacks. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. And Bears quarterbacks.
I don't know. I mean, sure. I mean, I think all of these guys have potential to some extent.
They all do, yeah.
But this quarterback class, I would not be surprised if they all just crashed and burned and failed. I wasn't shutting on any of these.
You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. Trey Lance is the answer.
Oh, Trey Lance is just as bad as Justin Fields, man.
Oh, yeah. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I mean,
about this. We got to move on. I can't talk about this. We're not even to that game yet. I don't know. All right, 24-27, the Jets pull off the victory in one of the most ugly ways. I mean, you look at the box.
Who saw this coming?
Like, well, I mean, I did, but that's not.
You did?
Danger did call it on Saturday, and then
I called it on Wednesday night.
Yeah, you did. That's right. You put it in the comments. You totally did. Doc did. I kind of dismissed it, but look, I'm just going to chalk this up, and it happens when they lost their center. That offensive line, which is already shaky, fell apart, and yeah, I mean that's it. That's all. I don't want. I mean, Maddie, you take it away. I have nothing else to say about this game. It's disgusting to me.
I don't have anything good to say either, and I'm eating my words because I talked a lot of trash last week.
Yeah, man.
I still think the Jets suck. I think they look bad. They're going to look
They're
terrible against
terrible.
Atlanta. Their offensive scheme is bad. Robert Saleh is way overhyped. Some of these guys that get jobs, like there's a reason they didn't get jobs. It's like, why didn't this guy get a job? He's had so many interviews. Right, exactly. As somebody that used to do a lot of interviews, if you went through a lot of interviews and you didn't get a job, it's because you weren't as good as other people. And sometimes people are better in different positions. But, it's just mystifying how they weren't able to get the run going earlier. And I just, look, if they had capitalized on any of those first 3 drives instead of just field goals, and they had been touched, that game could have been 21-0, very, very quickly. And I think the game goes a different way. I mean, obviously it's up 21-0 instead of 9-0. So not impressed with the Jets still, not impressed with Zach Wilson. Corey Davis has always been a baller. I saw a lot of people from Tennessee were like, "Oh, why didn't you do this for us?" He did it like every other game. That's what he does. He doesn't do it 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Derrick Henry still looks good, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, I mean, he got there. I mean, he had 36 rushes or whatever.
It was 33 carries again.
I didn't realize he had that many.
It's fine. I mean, he got 157 yards, 33 carries. He looked like a complete stud. But it was just, you look at the box scores and you go look through time of possessions and you look through everything, and you look back up again, you're like, the Jets won. And then you look back again at all the stats and all the things, and you go, the Jets won. And then you look back at the Jets stats and you look at them, and the Jets won. It was just a very confusing game.
You know who has not looked good? Michael Carter.
I haven't heard anything about Michael Carter.
13 for 38. He got a touchdown, but it was it was a short yardage situation. He does not look good, and it might not. It's not as necessarily completely his fault. This offensive line is terrible. I saw some tape breakdown of not this week, but the week before, where they ran a slant, but there was 3 wide receivers running the exact same slant in the exact same spot. They all just bunched up and ran into each other. How do you do that?
The right tackle who comes up and isn't touching a soul multiple plays in a row. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean,
you literally have to almost touch somebody. How are the defensive guys making contact before you are? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, it's a team that I've just completely written off in fantasy, especially in daily fantasy. There's, you can look in spots for Corey Davis, but that's about it. Jamison Crowder is going to be something that, Jamison Crowder had 9 targets, 7 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. And that is just kind of a Jamison Crowder line. And, with the other guys on this team, I think he's a fantasy ad. I mean, I'm sure he's available in a lot of places if you're looking for some wide receiver depth, especially in a PPR league. I think that you can go out and grab him. On the other side of things, I mean, look, it's just Derrick Henry. It's always Derrick Henry. He's catching the balls out of the backfield in certain cases now. Jeremy McNichols just had a huge game with 8 catches for 74 yards, but that's just because they were trailing at times, and he was breaking off 25-yard catches. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we're going to keep moving on here. We got the Detroit Lions, 14, Chicago 24, SOL, same old Lions. Montgomery's out. Williams also banged up. Is it Khalil Herbert time?
Do you trust anybody back there?
Not really.
Either.
Not really.
It's just rough. Jason Braddock would be mad.
Jason Braddock would be mad if we didn't talk about him, so we're going to talk about him.
No, I mean, I think, I mean, but the problem is, are they going to ever have games like this again where they're in the lead? There's tons of problems with this team.
Yes, Chris, when they play the Lions next.
Maybe not, man. Next one's going to be in Detroit. Detroit always plays a smidge better. I mean,
and DeAndre Swift wasn't healthy either.
I mean, he hasn't been healthy all year, but it was a bigger problem. It wasn't really a Swift problem. It was a Jared Goff problem. It was a Justin Fields problem. It was just everybody in this game was rather incompetent. I mean, just Goff couldn't do anything. It was just bad. And Justin Fields just holds the ball too long. He has reads. He has guys that are open, and he just takes sacks. I mean, look, his protection's not there, but let's not make excuses for the kid. He's not ready. Andy Dalton is the better quarterback. Nick Foles would probably be the better quarterback. And I know Allen Robinson feels that way. Allen Robinson would probably get 10 10 targets. I know Danger wants to gloss over this because he told somebody to sit Mooney, and I was like, I don't know if you should do that.
No.
But
You told somebody to sit Mooney?
No, I told somebody to play Van Jefferson over Mooney, and Van Jefferson outscored Mooney. Thank you very much.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about Mooney that's funny too, though, is the guy had half the catches for the entire team, and then like 60% of the yards. Like if you told anybody that, hey, well, look, do you want to play Mooney? Here's the stat line for Justin Fields: 11 for 17, 209, and an interception. Do you want to play Mooney? It'd probably be like, nah. Man, like, I'm good, man. I'm good. But he broke off that like 64-yarder that kind of changed the dynamic for him.
It did. And please, when you tell that story, remind people it was an either or with him or Van Jefferson. I chose Van Jefferson, and Van Jefferson got 2 touchdowns. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Right. The guy came back in the chat,
yeah.
and he poked the bear too.
He did do that. All right, let's move on to a game that actually had some action. Washington 34 at Atlanta 30. Scary Terry showed up. Of course, it's against Atlanta's terrible offense, or defense, I should say. And it appears, Chris, despite you and I's very inclination to deny it, that Cordero Patterson is a thing. It's a weekly thing, and we're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, it is. I was wrong on that. I didn't think it would be a thing, but I wasn't wrong about Mike Williams. The guy looks terrible. I mean,
Mike Davis.
Yeah. Mike Williams looked terrible today too.
He did.
But Mike Davis cannot create anything. He can't run. He can't break tackle. Like he's gonna have 1 or 2 games where he scores like 2 touchdowns just because they get into that situation. But he just looks terrible. This was a game that this was like the only game that I watched all of because it's on my local market. And man, I mean, it was everything that I really wanted it to be when I stacked it in most of my lineups. Matt Ryan went off. Calvin Ridley kind of should have gone off. He had about 100 yards in pass interference, and on 2 of them he almost caught him. And I hate that for fantasy, that like the guy creates a pass interference, but you get nothing credited for it. The other thing that was super frustrating was at the end of the game, they were up 2 points. They got the ball back with like 4 minutes left, and I just knew that they were going to run the ball. Like you haven't been able to run the ball all game. The other team has 2 timeouts, a 2-minute warning, and you run the ball 2 times. Like after you ran it on first down and it was ineffective, you needed to go to the pass. You needed to try and convert that first down. You didn't, but you decided to run it again, get another yard, and then a 3rd and 8 that you don't convert. And then just predictably Washington comes back and wins the game. I mean, it was so odd. Like Arthur Smith, what are you doing? The only way that you've been moving the ball is throwing it to Ridley. And man, Kyle Pitts,
which is wild because he's known for running 12 personnel. He's known for giving the ball to tight ends. Where is that at?
Well, I mean, Kyle Pitts dropped like 3 or 4 passes that hit his hands.
I didn't get to catch all the game. Yeah, I only saw spurts because it's out of my market.
Yeah, no, he dropped 3 or 4 passes. I mean, Pitts had 9 targets. He caught 4 of them. 1 or 2 of those were not his fault per se, but like there were 2 or 3 drops that were pretty bad. I mean, they were contested. It wasn't like he dropped it wide open like Marquise Brown last week, but he dropped a couple. So
is it Gallman? Didn't he get a couple carries this week?
Gallman had 6 carries. Cordell Patterson had 6 carries. And Mike Davis had 13, but Mike Davis 13 carries, 14 yards. That's a 1.1. This is like, yeah. I mean,
Chris, I think he's bad at football.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think anybody ever said that he wasn't going to be bad at football. The thought was that he was just going to get volume in this offense, and he's just been so bad that he gets no volume. He's getting nothing in the passing game.
Volume doesn't matter if you're 1-1.
Well, I think that the big attraction behind Mike Davis was that, he had a couple of good games last year where he caught the ball a lot in a Carolina offense that was built to throw to the wide or to the running back. And primarily the first 2 weeks after CMC got hurt, it kind of dropped off from there. Matt Ryan threw the ball to running backs quite a bit last year, and that was the thought behind Mike Davis. And, I could get behind him at a 5, 6, maybe 7th round pick, but the guy is not going to be in the league next year.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin's looking fantastic, though.
Scary Terry.
Scary Terry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Logan Thomas will be out for a little while, so I think we do see Curtis Samuel ramped up. I mean, he should be places, but I think you can go and add Ricky Seals-Jones. He saw 4 targets. And Taylor Heineke looks like he's probably
all right.
the quarterback for the football team for at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a game managing quarterback.
I think he's more than that. I mean, 290.
You think so?
Yeah. So here's the thing that I've seen, and he and a lot of these young quarterbacks are like this. If you look in the first quarter, they're missing some of their passes. They're amped up on adrenaline or whatever the case is. They get worked into the game and they start becoming a little more accurate. Heineke can ball. He's not afraid to push the ball downfield. He can run the ball. He's not.
He can stay calm too. He doesn't panic.
Well, this is two fourth quarter, and it was funny because they were like the last time he had a fourth quarter drive to win the game, it was against the Giants, and then they gave Matt Ryan the ball, and it was like the last time he had a fourth quarter drive to win the game, it was against the Giants. I was like, yeah, it was on back-to-back weeks, But Heineke is, I mean, he's played well enough that I don't think you give Fitzpatrick back the job when he comes back, as crazy as that would have been after that first week. But Heineke's earned this job. He played well last year. He's played well at this point. He's a young kid. I mean, I don't think that there's a lot of better options for you. You might as well try and develop him, might as well, at least for the rest of this year. It's just the defense is super bad.
Which is wild because we all thought that the defense was going to be their selling point this year.
Well, and it's crazy, how many people went out and drafted Washington football team defense early or the Tampa Bay defense early. And this is why you don't, is because defense is so difficult to predict on a year-to-year basis. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like they're not getting the same type of pressure, but at times they do. It's just the secondary is bad. And it could be a situation, like I said, with a lot of these teams that, they're playing in different environments than they did last year. It shouldn't affect the defense, but
I was going to say that I would think more offense, but
well, hey, I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out why they're not playing well. You gotta
I think everybody is. Everybody is. What happened in Washington?
But it's true. Let's be honest. It's this entire division outside of Dallas is just really bad. And you have to remember that Washington won the division as a 7-9 team. And that's the other thing. It's like, they were in the playoffs. They played Tampa Bay really well. So people forget everything that got them there.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right, keep moving on, guys. The Seattle and San Francisco game. Sadly, my Niners lost. But really, when you go through this, like it wasn't all that impressive of a game from Seattle. They commanded the clock more or less when they could, when they needed to. I mean, they actually lost the time of possession battle, but they took advantage of the field position. They took advantage of their turnover on the muffed return, and they just scored when they needed to score. That's all that game really came down to. The story here, of course, is Trey Lance is going to quarterback for the next couple of weeks.
That's not actually set in stone. They said Garoppolo.
It's not
next week.
Maybe they said maybe. So I'm listening to some field reporters that I follow. Sounds like he's going to miss at least a week. But
sounds like a Bears situation.
Yeah,
I don't think Shanahan wants to, based off of everything that he said. If Garoppolo can get out there, he's going to get him out there.
I think so too. When I first said
Trey Lance isn't ready.
Yeah, I agree. I put that question in there because I'm a 49ers fan and I want to talk about it. But no, Garoppolo's looked good while healthy this year, to be honest. So
Deebo Samuel's looked good.
Debo's a beast of a man.
Deebo Samuel has looked fantastic. I mean, Russell Wilson is not being asked to do a lot. He's not getting a lot of time to do it either. That offensive line has been super questionable, but I mean, only 23 passes, completed 16 for 149 and 2 touchdowns. Chris Carson is not getting catches, not getting targets, not running effectively, and not getting enough touches in the game that you can even consider him in daily fantasy. He's still probably, an RB2 flex kind of situation, because I'm guessing if you have Chris Carson, you don't have a lot of other options. But the one guy that you could probably start to consider if you really need it is Juszczyk. I mean, 4 catches you got 8. You can always get a touchdown if you're in like a touchdown heavy league or touchdown only league.
Right. And it's always funny in DFS. I mean, he's not really a DFS play, but it's like he's a fullback, so he's never going to be more than 4,000. Like he's always going to be minimum, always.
Mm-hmm.
But he's always in play for a touchdown. Always.
I mean, I think it was nice to see Trey Sermon, 19 for 89, not the best stat line, but certainly better than what we've seen. And as somebody that stuck with Trey Sermon on like several teams, that was positive.
Yeah. I've been disappointed in Kittle this year.
Had 11 targets though. I mean, catching 4 for 40.
Not really doing much with it,
I mean, agree. But how many of those came from Trey Lance? Were catchable. I think you're okay. But I always think Kittle is overdrafted because he's not quite as. I mean, he is T.J. Hawkinson. Like they are the same guy.
I didn't ever think about that comparison. That's so true. But Kittle's so much more overhyped.
Yeah, I mean, but Hawkins and I've done it to Hawkinson after those first 2 weeks. But yeah, like where you're drafting Kittle in seasonal is just way too high. He's not a Darren Waller, he's not a Travis Kelce, but guys like Mike Gesicki are potentially more productive. I think the only time that
Mark Andrews is more productive.
Yeah, but I mean the thing about Kittle is he's kind of like Mark Andrews in the sense that he's going to have 1 or 2 of those games where he's going to put up like 25 and people are like, I wanted him, but he's not going to do that often. And by the way, I told everybody, but Will Dissly even at 2,600 sucks.
That's a true story. I actually almost put Dissly in that little banner just to make fun of that. But
how long is Lockett going to be able to perform the way he is? Because I keep thinking he's just going to fall off. Like he's getting too old. And it hasn't happened.
I mean, he's still
him and Metcalf are right there.
I mean, he's only 29. As long as he's got Metcalf on the other side of him, I think he's always going to be okay.
He's going to do fine.
That's my thing about Tyler Lockett, and I've talked about it, is that when he was asked to be that number 1 wide receiver a couple of years ago, he really struggled. But once they got Lockett in and Lockett established himself as, a premier wide receiver, it takes a lot of pressure off of Lockett, lots of like bracket coverage, double teams, things like that. And it opens him up. So yeah, it's just this offense has not been kind of opened up
efficient.
Yet. Yeah.
No, they've been so efficient. That's the problem. They haven't been asked to be like high volume, I guess. They score quickly. They just, I don't know. It's a weird team.
Yeah. So my only thought on Kittle, going back there briefly before we move on, is it's just different this year. I mean, Debo has emerged. Debo got stronger, got bigger, got faster, and Kittle just doesn't have to be the guy being fed the ball anymore. I mean, he's truly a talented physical specimen for sure. But the last couple of years they didn't have a dominating presence like they do right now in Debo. So they don't. But you would think
with Trey Lance coming in to the game more like that's going to be his go-to guy.
I would only hope so.
Every rookie QB's.
All right, well, we're getting long in the tooth here, so we got 2 more games to cover. We got Baltimore 23 over Denver 7. Hey, Hollywood caught the ball.
He caught the ball, and a phenomenal ball.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was ready for him to drop it. I really was. But I played him in a lot of places. I just obvious, like a -3% consumer confidence at an all-time low. He was wide open 3 times against Detroit. He got open even against, a tough matchup. This was just an ideal spot. If he could have got like 9 more yards, it would have been like a complete blow-up game fantasy-wise for him, but he still scored well. What do you guys think about like Vic Fangio just kind of like losing his shit over them? I'm sorry, Danger. But just losing his stuff over them going for the record there.
It's okay. I thought it was hilarious. This is why I love John Harbaugh. It's because he does ridiculous things like this. It's so petty and it's so perfect. Like he cares about these things. Just like the preseason games. Like he cared about that. And I love it. I mean,
and his team cares about it. They obviously wanted it. Like, who cares? Like, does the other team knows what you're doing? You're coming out. You're gonna run out of bounds, and like we're just gonna let you have it. It's okay. It's like it's not even. It doesn't diminish the record either, in my opinion, because you got to that point. Like all those other games, it doesn't diminish it. It's like if you were, Yeah, I don't think there's any way you can diminish it. I think that Denver was another one of those teams like Carolina that's not as good as we thought they were, but you looked at who they played and you could understand that their success was in large a byproduct. They played well, but who they played against.
Who they played, yeah.
And
they also lose their quarterback. So you're on the sidelines, you're ticked about that. I mean, you have Locke coming in. You're gonna be happy. And then you have somebody run all over you. But it's not looking. How long is he going to be out? A week?
I haven't seen anything. But, I mean, it is. I don't think it's a huge downgrade just because this offense is so funneled into a couple places. Noah Fant saw 10 targets. Sutton saw 8. And those are really the only guys you're playing. Tim Patrick, maybe to some extent. But it's a highly funneled offense, kind of like the Colts. On the other side of things, the one thing that, and I mean, you can add him our stash, but James Proche saw 6 targets, looked good, 5 for 74. Devin Duvernay, 6 targets. I don't know. I want a showdown slate so Devin Duvernay can run it back and score a touchdown and as a receiver too.
I've actually been pretty impressed with Noah Fant this year.
Yeah, I've not been a Noah Fant fan in years past, but this year he's, a lot of my fantasy analysis comes based around where they're priced, usually priced around 4,000. So I'm looking for him to maybe at least get 12, but ideally get 16 to 20. And, this game he got 16, 6 for 46 and a touchdown. Yeah. So he gets to those ceilings. He's in a good price. He's kind of like he's profiles similar to me from a production standpoint as like a Mike Gesicki when they're throwing him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When he's getting the looks,
Both of them. Both of them when they're getting the ball.
And Chris, don't worry about the potty mouth. This is Dr. Roto After Dark. It's after midnight on the East Coast. It's totally
okay.
Fine. It's totally fine. All right, last game, guys. We'll get the hell out of here. Tampa Bay 19, New England 17. I watched this, and the refs were so confused. They didn't know whether to fraudulently give New England the interference calls or fraudulently give Tom Brady the calls. They were so confused. They didn't know what to do. They just fraudulently called bad calls all night long. It was amazing.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch the game. I like my fantasy team as soon as it was like Hunter Henry and then like Juju or not Juju. We got to talk about Juju, but yeah. Well, once it was Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith scored a touchdown, I was like, look, I'm gonna go watch the Squid Game.
And I dropped both of them before this week. I was done.
Yeah, showdowns have not been good to me the last 2 days, so I didn't watch a lot of it. I did know that there's a popular TikTok personality, a betting personality that has been on a super like cooler streak, not hitting things. And he had a 16 money line parlay with Tampa Bay as the last piece. And he said he wasn't going to hedge. So I was fully expecting when I woke up that New England won by 1 with the field goal that almost happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was really close. Apparently I accidentally deleted the banner for the Pittsburgh game. I'm glad that you said something.
I was staring at it. I knew I was going to talk about that, or that we hadn't talked about it.
He was waiting.
I don't really have much to say other than like, I mean, like everybody is caught up to the fact that Ben sucks at this point. Like it's not even just a couple people saying it. I mean, I've been saying it since like last year. I know a lot of people have been saying it since last year, and it's just he looks terrible.
It's not getting better. The offensive line is terrible. He's too old to be able to fend for himself in the pocket. It's just bad all around.
I mean, it's his fault that they gave him all this money to come back. I mean, give me half the money, give me a quarter of the money. If I'm at the end of my career and this is it, yeah, you're gonna go take a couple, one more paycheck, and you probably don't think it's gonna be this bad though.
The thing is they thought that their defense was gonna come out and dominate, and they were gonna hand the ball off and drive it down the field. Like that's what they thought was gonna happen, and then everybody's groins got injured. I don't know what you call that. Like everybody's below the belt is not doing well on the defense.
Well, I mean, I think you said it right. You called it the groin. I think that's the term. I
was trying to play nice.
But like
Dr. Roto After Dark. Dr. Roto After Dark. It's totally fine.
No matter what, Deontay Johnson's still a play every single week. 13 targets, 9 for 92. The ascension of Pat Freiermuth was a little bit early by some people. Yeah, he's not there. You just play Deontay. You can play Najee if you want to.
I mean, he gets 100% of snaps. Did you know that?
Yeah, he does. He gets 100%. I've heard that once or twice.
Oh, Juju. I don't want to like Juju. But he's up there. I mean, he's not.
Well, the concern that I have with Juju primarily is that, and I haven't gone back to look at this, but I do think that he's running most of his routes out of the slot. I could be completely wrong. And so it is something that I want to look at, because he had 8 targets, but only caught 2 of them. And if he's running his routes out of the slot, he should be getting, favorable matchups, but he's just not doing anything with it. And you'd have to go back and look at the passes. Are they catchable? Is he throwing into coverage?
That's the problem.
There are a lot of things that come into it. Even like Devontae Adams had 11 targets and he only caught 6 of them.
Yeah. He doesn't do much after the catch, though. He hasn't since he's gone to the league.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody on this, but nobody on this team does. I mean, this team is this team is a catch, dink, and dunk, and they kind of like fraudulently got to 11-0 last year, and it was just like, how do they keep doing this? And honestly, like, if Las Vegas had been able to win tonight and come back, I would have said, how did they keep doing this? 2 wins after being down 14-0, coming within a touchdown after being down 21-0 before just getting kind of shut down. I think Vegas is better than Steelers were last year, but this Steelers team, man, it's a
rough.
mess.
It's rough.
I bet you Minkah Fitzpatrick is super happy that he got himself sent over here, right?
The thing that sucks with the Steelers is like they don't have anybody better sitting on the bench. It's not even like they have a Foles just chilling back there. Who are you going to put in?
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't have anybody groomed. I mean, there are probably some people that they can target next year. Maybe the guy on the other side of this game, Aaron Rodgers.
But you pour all your money into Big Ben when you could have gone and gotten someone.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gotten a Teddy Bridgewater at the very least as a stopgap. Yeah. You don't think that Teddy, what he's done in Denver, couldn't do something similar here with the weapons that they have? I think he probably could.
I think so too.
Definitely. All right. Well, guys, it is way too late. I have too many children to be up this late, and I've got to get the hell out of here. So any parting thoughts, Maddie?
No. I'm actually looking forward to week 5 because I did not perform as well as I thought that I would in week 4. So week 5 is going to be a better week.
I quit fantasy this week, so I'm not even going to play.
That's not true.
We're going to make better decisions next week.
No, so Danger has a timeline. Basically, he has a DFS timeline where he just constantly sends me lineups throughout the week, and he's super optimistic. We go through the shows on Sunday morning, and then like a lot of us at 1:00, on Sunday, we're like, all right, we're going to win $1 million, 105 hits. We're like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. And then, Danger, 2 guys that he doesn't even know who they are, scores touchdowns, and he gets kind of mad. And then his guys aren't scoring touchdowns. Then he says he sucks at DFS. And then around 4:00, he says he's quit and he's never playing again. And then at 7:00, he's talking showdown lineup. So that's like I can show you the WhatsApp chat. It is every single week. It is.
Yeah, I played 20 lineups in the showdown last night. So.
Sports betting is still illegal in Oklahoma. So I'm just over here.
I don't think it's not illegal to bet. It's illegal to book. You can go play on places like Bovada.
I tried to get. Okay, I'm gonna have to hit you up and find out the underground thing.
Just make sure you have some Ethereum or Bitcoin, and you're good.
And then just understand if you use your Cash App, it'll get shut down like mine did.
Yeah,
it took a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A year is plenty of time. I did when I was in Tennessee not too long ago. I was betting. I won everybody drinks. I won like $400 off one bet. And I love sports betting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can go on it's not illegal to bet. It's like one of those weird things where it's like decriminalized in some ways, I guess. I don't know the exact legality, but you can get Bitcoin, you can send it there, you can deposit, and you can bet. The problem with Bovada is kind of they know that they're that niche, and so if you're trying to bet favorites, the line is always skewed, usually like 1 point towards the dogs, which is great. If you want the dogs and you want the points, you're going to get an extra point out of it. But you can do the same thing with like MyBookie. I think is another one that you could you can do that. So look, it's
Take
legal
it
in your state. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not telling you to do something
Disclaimers.
illegal
Don't worry.
either.
I'm going to edit this all out before I put it on the webpage.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
All right.
It's totally fine. All right. Well, we did a really good job of targeting 30 to 35 minutes tonight. And I appreciate all of your time as the clock ticks to 55 minutes. I'm Johnny Danger for Madi and Chris Emmerich. We'll see everybody else at drroto.com. Please head over there, get all of your DFS needs handled, all the sports. And don't forget, Chris just released his first video and article for the League of Legends Esports Worlds that kicks off at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's not too late.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's not too late. Well, 6 a.m. for Madi. Come on now. I'm just trying to be kind to those weird time zone people.
That's us.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.